for 5 seconds. When that ball snapped, we're playing as hard, as physical, as violent, and chasing and finishing the play as hard as we can. Everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
What's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. I hope that y'all's week is off to a great start. Thank you for joining us. We got a lot of things to talk about, baby. It is football season, and I do want to start off with this. I am proud of our Lady Vols softball team. They had a really good year. They shouldn't be, well, I'm not going to say they shouldn't be disappointed, but they should be proud of themselves, from the coaches to the players and all that good stuff. Got to work on some things to get over the hump in the offseason, but I am proud of them, kind of like I'm proud of the men's baseball team, but I'm more proud of the softball team just because they have a better team. Now, I don't know what's up with the baseball team right now. It's a lot of people leaving. It's not looking great, but it's still got a long way to go. So, again, man, appreciate y'all for joining us. Y'all, we're a little over 2 months away from fall camp, a little more than 3 months away from kickoff. We started the summer workouts, last week? And it's been players that have already started to do some things, but Derek Owings is going to make such a big impact on this team. And we're going to talk about that. We got a huge visit weekend coming up. We're going to talk about that. David Gabriel Georges, I got that inside the chat for y'all. It's a poll up. I'm going to wait for some more people to get in here, and then we're going to check on that and see what people got to say about it, see what people's thoughts are, and all that good stuff, man. Like, if y'all haven't been watching us since last year ended, we actually have been just like breaking things down on a very like micro level since last year ended. And right now, y'all, we are at the point where, dude, I just want to do like macro stuff, big picture stuff, because I want for people to understand this team is going to be very, very good. The people on campus, from the coaches to the players, it's a lot of optimism. It's not probably going to be that much with the national media. I actually saw something here recently. I think it was from On3. They had us only losing 2 games, to Texas and to Alabama. So maybe it is starting to pick up, but y'all, it's a lot for us to be excited about. Either way, man, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching this on like a rewatch or something, you're more than welcome to like put inside the chat or put inside the comments what you think about the polls and all that good stuff, because I know that you can't vote on it. But I do want to get to the chats first and foremost. We will be getting to the super chats and to our members first. But this one right here is from Rhonda. What's going on, Rhonda? It's good to see you in here. You know, we right back to it. All right, so Rhonda's on the same page. Let me see what Colton's got to say. Felt like the Lady Vols had the best team and the bracket set up very nicely for them. It was a heartbreaker. You know, it's just weird how that happens. Sports is like that. To lose back-to-back games in a do-or-die situation, I'm not mad at them. You know, I'm really not. I feel spoiled because it always feels like they have a chance to win the whole thing. But that's shout out to Coach Weekly. You know, it's shout out to all the players, the whole staff. They're doing a great job. Keep on knocking on the door. Eventually, it's going to open. Now, what I'm kind of hoping is going to happen is that we just beat the daggum door down, you know, and we don't take no for an answer. That's what I'm looking for, and I think that that's coming, y'all. All right, so this one is from, I think, Dexay. I hope I'm saying that right, but I'm not sure. So, poll question, maybe he's worth $1 million, or maybe he's worth a little under $1 million, but I'd be happy to give him a bag so that we could get an absolute beast. I think he could be a game changer. Running backs are already doing good. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we'll definitely get into. But I actually want to start it off, y'all. You know what? I'm trying to figure out what I want to start at. We're going to come to the OVs in just a second. Before we get to the OVs, I want to start things off with our players, because obviously the situation with Chaz Coleman, which we're not going to spend too much time talking about that today unless people want to talk about it. But that situation, it could maybe paint the picture that we're not all in. Like I just said, that we're going to be good. Players are putting in a ton of work. So I do want to start right here with just like a couple of guys. So this is Gilliam. He's a defensive tackle. Had a great spring. Seeing his most recent personal training workout session. So this would have been before the summer workout started. Y'all, he looks like an NFL defensive tackle. He looks very well put together. He's explosive. Obviously, he's putting in the work and all that good stuff. He's going to be a major problem, and we will get to the offensive line. One of the things that people have been worried about is, can our guards and our centers hold up? A lot of that is from him. Oh, you know what? Excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here playing this, and the daggum thing hadn't even moved over. Give me just a second. 1 second. Let me start it back over. All right, there we go. Boom. All right, so this is Xavier Gilliam. My bad, y'all. Yeah, so he's I'm kind of rusty. It's been a long time since we did a live stream. But either way, man, he really is going to be tremendous. You got him, you got David Hobbs, and I think that we actually have a much deeper defensive tackle room than I had initially thought that we'd have. It's a lot of guys that are taking steps forward, and I'm just looking forward to it. I love guys with this sort of build playing at defensive tackle. Puts me in the mind of like a Grady Jarrett, for those of y'all that might be Falcons fans, or you should probably know who Grady Jarrett is, but he's, I think, very, very similar from that standpoint. But, man, he was just abusing the interior of the offensive line all spring. This is Tyler Redmond, and you're seeing him work until he's working out at Georgia Tech. I don't think he's thinking about transferring to Georgia Tech. It's just where he's working out at. I had to make sure that I say that. But he looks incredible. Yo, I think he's going to be listed at like 6'3", close to 210 when the season starts. He's already up around 205. He might be over 205. Last year, I think he was at like 195-ish. So he's gained about 10 pounds. Derek Owings doing a great job with him. But I think that his footwork, which y'all know, I played corner. P played corner. We know the position very well. But he looks just incredible. Feet, transitions right there, working on press stuff, straight line speed. It's another one that I wish that I could have put in here, but like for the sake of time, couldn't do it. But he looks just great. And then this is Braylon Staley. That's what an NFL wide receiver looks like. Very smooth, very fluid. Love to see him working. You know what I'm saying? Going after the football. Great hands. And then this is Ra-Ra, big dude. You can see him really straining too. He's just got that dog to him. This is what I've kind of like dreamt about, right? Like you want to have a wide receiver room with all these dogs. And this here is Tyreek King as a true freshman. I don't know, like, will he be the backup slot or is he just going to be one of the guys? Because, I mean, Joakim Dotson, he's also good. But his straight line speed is great. He's got that physicality that you're looking for. And then this is just like workout stuff from before summer. Guys, I think that they're probably doing maxes here, max bench, max squat, but they're moving a whole lot of weight. This team looks incredible. I cannot overstate at all how important Derek Owings is to this team, offense, defense, special teams. We will talk about some special team stuff today. But let me go on ahead and get into the chat. Actually, first, let me check on this poll and see how we're looking at this point, and we will come right back to it. So question is, how much is David Gabriel Georges worth? All right, so the first option is less than $1 million, so we got 15% there. Then the next option is 1 to 2 million. We got 77% right there. 3 million plus is about 8% with that. So that's I like to. I mean, that seems. I didn't think that it would be that reasonable. I thought it was going to be a whole lot of people saying, yeah, 3 million plus, 3 million plus, and it's perfectly fine. I just want to gauge how people are feeling about this whole situation. Like I said, we're about to dive into it in just a second. All right, so this one is from Dexay saying that they're feeling like Chaz is probably out unless we get an unlikely development within the next few weeks. I don't know if it's going to be within the next few weeks, bro. I think it'll probably have to come sooner than that. And since you brought it up, or actually I brought it up, but since you went on ahead and chimed in, I would say that, it really is. It feels more like it's trending towards him not being part of the team. And I think that I guess maybe they're just trying to keep from getting sued because he talked about the mental health issues or just health issues, period, which I don't know. Football is funny because, I mean, I don't know. It's all based off how the contract's written up. But with football, it is a game of injuries. It's kind of typical, which it sucks, but it's kind of typical that if you have a bad enough injury, your contract might be null and void. They typically, NFL players, they'll write it into the contracts. It's really never guaranteed. So I don't know. I can share this with everybody. And I talked about it in the most recent video, right? The one that it was P&I. As of like last Monday, not yesterday, but last Monday, I thought that he was off the team. Okay, there is a very good reason that Doug Matthews, I'll go on ahead and drop his name now. There's a really good reason that he said that Chaz Coleman is off the team. So it's something that I think sooner rather than later need to make a move on it. But also, I was maybe more optimistic in the most recent video because I felt like maybe he wanted to be here. Maybe he was going to do what it took. If he does that, to your point, then yeah, I think that he'll be back and he can help us. Doesn't mean that he can help us immediately. He's got a long way to go just to catch up. But I also want to throw this out there, and it's the last thing, unless somebody else brings it up, and we're just going to move forward. But last thing, y'all, there are so many studs, so many very talented people walking around on the face of this planet. And it might rub some people wrong, but they don't have to work quite as hard. Like they can just wake up, go out without really practicing or without really working, and they're going to be better than most people. I think that Chaz Coleman he could be one of those types of people. He really could be. Now, I don't know what he looks like after spring, but in spring, when he was there, he was very, very dominant. So we'll see how it plays out. Feels like it's trending now towards he will not be back. I don't know if that's more of the trying to save face or exactly what that is, if things have actually changed. But either way, let's move on. What we're currently looking at are our OVs coming up for this weekend. Okay, I might be missing some people. I got this from, I think, 24/7 Sports. So what I know is that Easton Royal, he was supposed to be up. He canceled the OV. I don't know if that's changed back where he is going to be here, but he was a 5-star wide receiver. I think he's committed to Texas. So he's not going to be coming up. Obviously, David Gabriel Georges, he's the headliner for this OV, which is why we're asking the question, and we will dive deeper into it. I don't know if Sanders I don't know if he's coming up either. I think he might have shut things down. I feel like he chose Vanderbilt. But, yeah, he's a good-looking safety or linebacker. I don't know what he's going to play, but either way, I know that he's good. And then we've got a couple of guys that are already part of this class. So Jaden Butler as a safety and then Derek Baker as a quarterback. I've told so many people, everybody who's going to listen to me, that Derek Baker is a stud, okay? I know that David Gabriel Georges, everyone's really high on him. I'll just tell you, this is my personal opinion. If it came down to one or the other, I would take Derek Baker just because David Gabriel Georges plays at running back. That's just the way that I view it. But either way, let's start to talk about this whole DGG thing. I would also like to hear what y'all have to say about the guys that we have coming up on these visits. You know what? Somebody else that's really big is Mr. Howard right there towards the middle. So he is a tight end. Sorry that that's a little bit skewed. It's some stuff in there that's kind of skewed. Sorry about that. But Howard is a tight end. Sounds like Tennessee's in a really, really good spot. Tight end is obviously, it's a position of, I would say, really high need for us. If he comes in, if he's physically ready, he might be a starter for us next year, him and Brame. I think that we have to go out to the transfer portal to make sure that we have all the guys that we need. But with all that being said, if y'all have any thoughts on that, just as far as the players that we have coming up, please share with me just because I just want to be able to, kind of like a vibe check video. But this one right here, saying that, dang, these guys are looking sharp. Yeah, man, if you're talking about the little clips that we had up earlier, they look very good. So this one is from Rhonda asking, do I think people are sleeping on us? We could legit give teams problems 100%. Like, we'll also take a look at the schedule. I'll tell you, like, my kind of like primary focus really far away from the actual season. But today we'll talk a lot about just like the first month of the season. So this one, saying with DGG, how many other guys are we going to have on the roster that are flirting with 1 million plus? Most big teams have 1 or 2 guys on each side of the ball making that much. I think it's going to be. I think that most big teams are going to have a lot more people than 1 to 2 on each side of the ball making about that. Especially if you're talking about good teams, you're probably going to have, I'd say at least 5 on each side of the ball that's making 1 million plus. You probably would have probably 7 or 8 on each side of the ball, like just in all honesty, something like that. But let me finish up with your thought here. All right, so some top tier programs have 3+. Yeah, it's Dexe. I think it's a lot more than that. But yeah, it's interesting because if he's making, like, running backs probably, I would say coming out of high school, if you're like a 3-star, probably going to be somewhere around 150 to maybe up to 300,000. If you're a 4 to 5-star, I mean, you could get anywhere from, I guess, about 400 to maybe like $1 million. But it's typically like you could go and get a 5-star running back and not have to spend 1 million plus, just because people don't spend that much on that spot, So it will be interesting if DGG comes in, if he's making like 2 million and it's, I don't know, 6 to 10 times more than most of the guys inside of that room. I've touched on this. Who's going to stick around, right? Like who's going to stay? You're going to have to give them a raise, and you're spending a lot of money inside of that running back room. I think that if we get them, we'll probably have to go and get 3 more running backs out of the transfer portal. And I don't know. There's a lot of things that could be a little bit problematic. All right, so let me get to a few more chats, and then I want to keep this thing moving. All right, so Henry, what's going on, Henry? Appreciate you for joining us. Any new updates on Coleman? All right. Sorry, I know that everyone started talking about it. Yeah, no. So Coleman, I don't have anything new. It's just, for me, I was optimistic in the previous video because I thought, well, maybe he wants to get back into the good graces, but it sounds like maybe that's not the case. I haven't even tapped into my sources to figure out what the heck's going on because, like you said, Henry, I think a lot of people are just kind of like tired of the whole thing, and it's like, hey, look, he's either here or he's not. We'll find out, but I do need to tap in, and I'll be sharing that with our members for sure. All right, so let me go on ahead and let me take it one step further. So since we're talking about DGG and all the money and all that type of stuff, I do want to show y'all this real quick. This is the Power 4 or Power 5, just based off of the year. This is the Power Conference rushing leaders for all the seasons that we have up there, okay? What I was doing with this research is trying to figure out when's the last time that the leading rusher was on a championship team. Had to go all the way back to 2015 and Derek Henry. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that he still has the single season record for the SEC. Could be off on that, but it's somewhere around in that ballpark. We all know how good he was coming out. He was a 5-star. His team went 14-1. So how much of that was really from Derek Henry? Like, we've seen him play in the NFL. I know it's a lot of Titans fans probably watching this, so y'all know him very well. But how much of it was really him? Even with all those numbers, how much can you put on him if you feel like, because I've seen so many people saying, well, DGG, he's the best high school running back that I've seen since Derek Henry. Okay, if you feel like he's on that same level, how was Alabama able to win the national championship? So this is their roster from 2015. You can see on that left side what the talent level was. It's number 1 in the country. That comes from 24/7 Sports. They had 15 5-stars, 48 4-stars, and obviously it wasn't that many 3-stars. They were absolutely loaded. They also had 35 NFL draft picks on that team, just like over the course of the time, like once they got ready to go on to that level, 35 total. 8 of them were what they call linebackers. So of those linebackers in Alabama's defense, it was a 3-4 or it was a 3-3-5. Those are primarily edge rushers, okay? That's primarily what that was. Then you've got the defensive tackles, which is what defensive line is. They had 7 of those. Then you've got 4 running backs. So on that team, it wasn't just Derrick Henry. It was 3 other dudes, like 3 other very good dudes. They had a stable of backs. Then you're seeing everything else, so on and so forth. So I would definitely make the argument that Derrick Henry or Alabama winning the national championship in 2015, yes, Derrick Henry had a good year, but would he have had the same type of year if he wasn't on that type of team? I would say probably not. And to kind of like go further into what I'm talking about here, let me show you how he looked, just like with his high school stuff. So this is actually Derrick Henry when he was in high school versus Buford. Now, we all know, or most people probably know, that Derrick Henry is from Florida. I just want for y'all to see how he looks going up against really good competition on a play-in, play-out basis. I did not skip a single run from him, not a single solitary run. So if you're thinking about his highlight film, or if you're saying, wow, he looked great in high school, whether you saw him in person or not, you have to consider who was he running up against. Now, Buford at this time, and it's, for a very long time, they always have a bunch of D1 players. This is why I'm so big on go and get guys that come from areas where they're playing up against really good talent. Now, he does have some nice runs in here. They're pretty good runs. But in my opinion, he just looks like a regular running back. There's nothing that he's doing here that I say, wow, this is unbelievable. And it's not that he's a bad player. That's definitely not the point. What my point actually is, he doesn't look super great because the rest of his team is outmatched. Like, he could play with Buford. There was another guy, I think he was number 5 on this team. They could have played with those guys, like they could have played with this schedule that Buford faces, but the rest of their team couldn't. So even a guy that might end up being a Hall of Fame running back, when he's coming out of high school, if he doesn't have help, he can't do very much. That's the overall point. And I think that if you put DGG, even with Baylor, if they played against Buford, or if they played one of these like top classification schedules in the state of Georgia, it doesn't look the same way. And there's other places, like I always talk about South Florida. It's places in Texas. There's places everywhere. So this is what I've been talking about, and it's like I can show you better than I can tell you. And it's not to take a shot at DGG. I cannot say this enough. I feel like he's a very good player. But is he worth all of the money? Is he worth mortgaging away our future? Because it feels like that's what Tennessee's doing. And I had brought that up with, there were some players, defensive linemen especially, that Tennessee just couldn't even get up on campus. It's like, if you're going to have a cornerstone of your class, it needs to probably be in the trenches, or it needs to be a quarterback. I don't think that a running back should ever be the cornerstone of your class unless it's like Alabama was in 2015. Like we'll just say like for that year, unless it's like that, bro. Like that one running back is not going to make a difference in you winning more games. It's not going to take you. It's not going to get you over the hump. Like they need help. Defensive linemen don't really need as much help. I've seen defensive linemen at Buford and everywhere else be able to take over games by themselves. So that's the point that I'm making. And I hope that we don't get ourselves into a crazy bind because we're trying to spend all this money on DGG. So let me tap back into the chat. Let me make sure I'm not missing. This one right here is from Henry. All right. Henry is in Anomaly. He's one of the few. Oh, okay. So you're talking about Derek Henry. Okay, that one threw me off. Yeah, he's one of the few running backs that can really just take over a game and dominate a defense. DGG isn't like that to me. Okay, so see, and I understand what you're saying there, but I would still make the argument that really even Derrick Henry, I don't feel like by himself he can just take over games. Can he run through the contact and all that? Yes, but I feel like the running backs that can make people miss, that's probably a bigger benefit because if you're just going to be running through people all the time, at some point, you're going to run into somebody that you can't run through. And then by the end of the year, you're worn down. Making people miss, to me, is that would be a trait that I would look more for out of a running back if I'm saying, hey, I'm going all in. Like P brought up Reggie Bush. I would say, yeah, that if Reggie Bush coming out of high school, yes, I don't know if I would even still go to the max of $2.5+ million or anything over 2 personally. Even Bijan, because Bijan, he can do both. He can make you miss and he can run through you. So, and he's got the speed and he can catch. To me, he's the most complete running back maybe ever. Maybe it's because I'm a Falcons fan. I don't know. But I just, not saying that DGG's bad. I don't know that any running back is worth it these days. It's not like if people talk about Bo Jackson or talk about Herschel Walker. I mean, in those days, like you were running the football 85+% of the time. Barely passing it. Even back in the 90s, like go back and watch some of those 90s Tennessee games. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We're running the football all the time. It's not conducive the way that I feel like some people might see it, but that's just my opinion. Okay. I'm not trying to argue or nothing. We can have a back and forth conversation, but I did want to highlight some of those things. So I will tap back into the chat in just a second. And let me see what people are saying here. So Rhonda saying that she didn't think about it that way. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so, okay, on the same page right there, Colton is saying that he would rather have a solid running back behind an elite offensive line. Yep, that's where I'm at. And we don't know how much money is going to be, like, how much is it going to cost us to go out to the portal to get some of the things that Tennessee's going to need? We don't know. It goes up every single season. And I could give you, like, a roundabout number. I can't give you exactly what people are making. I know that it's expensive for the good players. And whenever you go out to the portal, look, guard, we're probably going to need one of those more than likely. Might need a defensive tackle, potentially. I know edge is going to be something that we'll probably end up needing. I'm hoping that those young guys step up, tied in, like we said. But defensive linemen cost a ton of money. So hopefully we don't need a quarterback, but we probably will need a quarterback. See what I'm saying? So it's just like, I'm sure that the staff has all this stuff figured out. But just from where I'm sitting at, it's hard for me to imagine that we would spend anything over $2 million for David Gabriel Georges. Now, I would like to get him. I would love to get him because he's a good player, and I think that he could help this team, but not at the cost of losing any other players that he's going to need to be successful. And also, them daggum Buckeyes, man, they are about as bad as Georgia fans and Georgia insiders, whatever. They're about on the same level, so I almost really want them even more just to kind of like spite them. But let's take it further, y'all. Let's go on ahead and let's see what else we got in here. I know I got plenty more to get to. Okay, so this is just taking it back to, I talked about my tiers. I wanted to bring this back up so that y'all could see it. Tier 1 for me is who I would try to spend the most money on, get into the bidding wars coming out of high school, right? Like that's the core of your team. Tier 2, I would only get into bidding wars for players coming out of high school in that tier. I would probably never do it coming out of the portal, excuse me. I would never do it for guys that's coming out of high school because I think that like those are dime a dozen stuff, you know? But either way, something that we've already taken a look at. You could pause it and take your time. Now, let's go on ahead and get into this season, man. This is what I see just with our schedule as far as like my overall focus for these games. And like I said, we're going to focus a lot on that first month. So that whole like top row. September the 5th versus Furman. Obviously, that's the first game of the season. my main focus is just to stay healthy. I would love to see the quarterbacks looking good, whoever the starter is, would love to see that. Go out there, play with confidence, show that you'll throw the football down the field, maybe fit it into some tight windows sometimes, but mostly just take care of the football. Also want for Coach Heupel to get away from trying to continue streaks or set streaks or break records. Nobody cares about, at least I don't care about that. All I care about is winning. That's the only metric that really matters at the end of the day. We use it to break things down. But really, man, what's the score look like at the end of the game? I feel like by midway through the second quarter, we should be up by about 30 or 40 points, get all the starters out, and get everybody else in. Everybody else. Because people, going back to that transfer portal, people want to play. People want to feel like they're actually part of the team. You don't sit on them and just try to hide them. You can't worry about that. Put them in the game. We also need to find more depth for the gauntlet that we got. This is a 9-game conference schedule. I know it's people that are worried about that. I understand why you're worried about it, but excuse me, believe me when I tell you, Tennessee is capable, more than capable, of being able to compete with every single team on this schedule. All right, so that's pretty much it for the first game. Now, next game versus Tech. That game's going to be at Tech. It's at night. And I'm going to tell you something. Georgia Tech is a well-coached team. Most people understand this one's going to be tough. This is when we'll find out early on how good can this team be. Now, we could maybe barely win. Like I said, I don't care how much we win by, just win the game. We might barely win. It doesn't mean that we can go out and beat some of the teams that we would consider to be better, because we should be getting better over the course of the year. That's what good teams do. But for them, what I know is that they're going to stick to the run. All right, they will be a run-first team. And I like what they did in the transfer portal. They went out, and I think they got some very underrated players. There's no question about that. They got Justice Haynes, who he also came from Buford, and he's a really good running back. So I know that coming out of spring, one of the questions is with their quarterback. Doesn't sound like he looked great. I think that they will lean on the running game a lot. So my primary focus for this one is Tennessee's run defense. We'll be able to tell, are our defensive tackles who we hope that they can be. Doesn't mean that they're going to win on every single rep, but we should be able to stuff things. We got a great core of linebackers and all that. We're going to talk about it, but that's my primary focus. If we have a good run-stopping defense from top to bottom, I feel like Tennessee does win this game. Now, next we got Kennesaw State. Just like Furman, stay healthy. Hopefully the quarterbacks are taking more steps forward, maybe taking a few more risks, calculated risks, taking care of the football, all that good stuff. They start to find a groove, and we're going to need it for the week after that versus Texas. It's the SEC opener. It's inside of Neyland. And the primary focus here is with Tennessee's rush offense. And I'm going to talk about why in just a second. But 1B for me would definitely be Tennessee's kind of like fan base. I think that we have got to be, whoever goes to the game, whoever's on campus, it's got to be an unbelievable atmosphere. It's got to be the best that it's ever been. I don't think that it was good enough most of the time last year, just in all honesty. Felt like, I don't know why it was like this, but it just was not loud enough on a consistent basis. I know that people want to go to the games and have a good time. Yes, go to the games, have fun, but we also have to understand that we are part of the team. Like when it's home games, even if it's on the road, it doesn't matter. This fan base, in some aspects, obviously we're not putting in all the work that the players and the coaches are, but we are part of the team. So we've got to impact games any way that we possibly can. And I think that just being loud will help us out tremendously. They've never played inside of Neyland. Texas hasn't. So that just means that they've never played inside of a stadium that's that type of loud. And, again, I just think that would be 1B for me. Fan base has got to show up, and I expect that they will in that game. So either way, the reason that I have Tennessee's rush offense is because with this new defensive coordinator, I know that they're going to do a lot of press coverage, so a whole lot of tight man-to-man. They're going to blitz a whole lot, those sorts of things. You have to be able to run on that. We'll probably see some pretty heavy boxes, but you've got to we can't get away from the run. I think that maybe that's more of what I'm saying. Coach Heupel, he did that last year, like versus Oklahoma. That was one of the games we just stopped running the football. Versus Alabama, we stopped running the football. Have to stick to it in this game. And it's more about the offensive line. We know that we have a stable of backs. They're all going to be fine. But if we can run the football for about 3.5 yards per carry over the course of that game, then things open up down the field for whoever the young quarterback is. So that's why, for me, it's very important. Also, their pass rush is going to be crazy. Colin Simmons is probably the best edge rusher in the whole country, and they've got several more. So, yeah, that's what I see there. Y'all can see all the rest of everything else. And now I'm going to take a little break and try to get back into the chat. Sorry to keep y'all waiting, man. I just want to try to make sure that we can get through all the information. So let me get to Henry. All right. So a dominant offensive line can take over a game. Yep. 100%. So we're on the same page there. A great running back can't take over a game without a good offensive line. Yeah. And look, we've seen it before, like Barry Sanders. He was one of the guys that he didn't have a whole lot of blocking when he was in the NFL. So it's very, very special. But he was a guy that could make you miss, which goes back to my point. It's not very often that you see guys that are more about going through contact that can just do it by themselves. At some point, they're going to get worn down. I'm just tapping back in on this chat to see what people are saying. So right now, we got 74% of the people that voted are voting for $1 to $2 million is what they think David Gabriel Georges is worth. It's 5% now that's at $3 million plus, and 21% is saying under $1 million. Wow, I'm very shocked by those numbers, man. Because when I'm on social media and all that, it's so many people that's like, yeah, you pay them whatever, and maybe I made a good case. I don't know. We'll see. I hope that the staff sees it the same way. All right, so Henry's also saying it's going to be loud as hell. Yeah, man. I hope that I'm sure that it will be. Sure that it will be, and that'll be kind of like a good exercise, I guess, for the rest of the year. Because most of our tough games will be inside of Neyland. Let me make sure that I didn't miss it in chats. I see that there are some from some different people, so I'm going to try to get to some different folks. So this one right here is from Vols by Fitty, saying that he's curious, or she's curious, on how we'll do against a team like Texas. I think that if we get off to a 3-0 start, Neyland will cause them problems, and maybe our defense is better than expected. Yeah, I think that the defense is going to be very, very good. All right, so for serious recruits, I think that our strength and conditioning coach is a game changer. Yeah, I do too. We have endured several years of players looking soft and losing steam. That's a fact. That's a big fact. So Vols by 50 also saying that either the Texas game or Bama game is what I'm trying to choose between. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can go wrong. Obviously, that Texas game, it's very expensive. I would like to go to both. I'm going to see if I can't get up to that Texas game because that's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing for me. Yep, it's a team, not just one person. That's a fact, Rhonda. That's a fact. And this one from Colton saying $2 million or more invested at guard would probably put us in the running for the top players at those positions. Yeah, it just really all depends on how many guards are you getting, because you can go, like if you go out to the portal last year, if you're getting a veteran guard that's really good, they're probably like $1 million each. You know what I'm saying? So look, it is expensive. It's no joke. I want to make sure that people understand that. I think that Tennessee does have deep pockets, but nobody has infinite money. Well, nobody that I know of. I shouldn't say nobody because I honestly don't know. It might be some of them oil money schools. They might have super deep pockets and they can just stretch it out forever. But either way, yeah, you have to make it work for you. But I would say that in reality, for your guard room, I mean, you should probably aim. If it's me, I'd aim to spend about $5 million on that room. Have like first string, second string, third string. They all need to be really good because they get banged up. It shouldn't be a whole lot of drop off once you get down on that depth chart. All right, so now, y'all, I'm going to take it one more step further. We're going to start to talk about the actual team. And these are just the averages from like a size standpoint and all that good stuff, right? Like you can see the average size. It's the average class for all these different rooms. And I think that it looks good. You know, this is just about spring, okay? So their sizes they're all going to probably end up gaining weight. I know that the body composition, that's going to be incredible. I just think that we look so good. Everybody that I'm looking at on social media, whether it's in some of their like YouTube videos or whether it's whatever it is, just them working out, we just look so much more fit than we did previously. You know, like we don't look, and I hate to say this, but we don't look as sloppy. We don't look as soft. We look hard, you know, and Coach Owings, he's really just starting to get his hands on everybody. All right, so let's get into the first room, y'all. These are my probable starters, and then I've got the potential starters for the offense. So what you see up at the very top is where I think the offense is strong at and where I think we have questions at. Now, the questions for the offense, I don't think that they're huge questions. It's just kind of like, all right, well, we have to find something that isn't perfect. There's always going to be some things that aren't. But if you're not looking at things on like a super micro level, then it's not a whole lot of flaws with this offense, especially just focusing on these starters, you know? Obviously, quarterback, that one's going to be big for everybody because quarterback's young. I have Faze on as a starter at this point. We'll see what happens over the rest of spring camp and, fall camp and so on and so forth, and obviously over the rest of summer too. But I think that with the talent, with the scheme, and with the talent, with the players that we have around him or George, we're going to be perfectly fine, man. Like, it's a veteran-led offensive line. So I would say the Bishop is look, I've seen pictures, and we talked about this in orange and white film. I think, my goodness, dude, he's for him to have gotten bigger from last year. I didn't think that he could really fill out anymore. Man, he looks like he's on steroids. Like, he might be over 210. He might be about 215 when the season starts. But he was a 3-star walk-on guy. Obviously, he's doing a great job. Had over 1,000 yards rushing. I feel perfectly fine with him. Javen Gordon. I mean, dude, like that whole, it's a stable of backs. Morris, Baker, come on, man. We're going to be perfectly fine. I'll see how much we rotate, but I think he's going to have a huge year behind this offensive line. Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley. I have Travis Smith as wide receiver number 3. I don't know. It could still be Ra-Ra. Could maybe be Tristan Keys. We shall find out. Ethan Davis obviously has a starter at tight end. Then for the offensive line, I've got David Sanders. I'm going back to Sham Umarov as the left guard. Sam Pendleton, he's back at center for me. Wendell Moy, I put him at right guard because Sham is really only played on that left side. And I have Jesse Perry as the starting right tackle. But it could be Ori Williams starting there. It could be Donovan Haslam. Like, just imagine Wendell Moy with Donovan Haslam. That's two kind of like shorter, stockier guys that are really good at pass protection. They should look really good, I think, with like run blocking, especially with the way that the rest of the offensive line looks. That could help out Sam Pendleton if we feel like maybe that's a problem. Or maybe you could put Donovan Haslam as your starting center. You can move Sam Pendleton to one of those guards. So it's, y'all, I feel great about where we're at. And this is the best team that Tennessee's had under Coach Heupel. Really is. I think that this team would beat any of the previous teams that he's had, and any of the previous seasons really does not matter. So let me tap back into the chat and see what people are talking about. I'm going to let y'all marinate on that some. So Henry saying that, sorry that the top of that's cutting off. Henry saying that thanks that we stay loud when yeah, I do too. Just watched on TV, but it felt pretty loud in games like Georgia and Oklahoma. Yeah, you know, in that OU game, I thought that it could have been louder. I thought that it could have been louder in that Georgia game too. Now, a lot of people came into the Georgia game. I'm not going to say, well, yeah, I will say. It feels like a lot of people came into the Georgia game expecting for us to just get blown out, which we proved a lot of folks wrong. So I think that does get you juiced up when you're like, oh, wait, we actually have a chance. So to your point, Henry, if people don't have a lot of confidence in our fan base, I really don't care what the national media thinks. Aside from give our guys credit, it's probably hard to have things both ways. Like, yeah, it's fine for you to sleep on us without giving the individual players credit. Probably can't do both. But, yeah, I don't care really that they're sleeping on us. I want for the fan base to have confidence because that will get us fired up. That will help us win. I think that type of energy goes a very long way. All right, so let me try to get to some of the previous chats that I wasn't able to get to. All right, so Rhonda is saying that we can add extra to the defense when we are there is no question about it, especially on third downs. Like, Neyland literally shakes. If for anybody that's never been there, if you're up, especially like on that second row, you know what I mean, on the second tier, it literally shakes when it gets the type of loud that it's supposed to be. And we break down film. You can see the screen shaking when we're watching film sometimes. I think last time that I saw that was when Alabama was in Neyland. You know, that was like a couple of years ago. So if it's not shaking when I'm watching film, it's not loud enough. All right, so this one's saying better be loud and bumping. Oh, I know that one's going to be crazy. There's no question about that. All right, so this one right here is off topic. Okay, but I wonder if Texas Tech will get Texas. Man, that's a great point. I would absolutely love to see Texas have to play Texas Tech. As many games as they have to play to get them kind of banged up and to take their focus off Tennessee, I think that's super beneficial for us. I know that they got the Buckeyes. Is that in week 2 or might be week 3? But they had them pretty early on, too. I want them as banged up and as little time to prep for Tennessee as humanly possible. You know what I mean? Not to say that I'm necessarily nervous about the game. It's just, man, you got to do everything you possibly can to win. If Tennessee starts off 4-0, watch out, baby. You know, it's going to be a heck of a year. All right. So I think that this team beats Tennessee. Oh, my gosh, yes. Oh, my goodness, yes. 100%. Yeah, I think that this team would beat the brakes off Hendon's team. Yeah, I think last year's team would beat Hendon's team, just in all honesty. I do, and I know that might sound crazy. But, man, like the talent difference, it's drastic. And once we get back into the micro of breaking things down for the offensive line, we're going to show you the difference between the 2025 offensive line versus the 2022 offensive line. It's something that we've already done for our members. But, yeah, we would blow all those teams out. I don't know that it would be close, just in all honesty. We've learned a lot. We've grown a lot. might not feel like it, but in 2022 and 2021, our scheme was taking us very far, very far. That was almost 100% Coach Heupel, Coach Halsley, and not to take a shot at any of our guys. I'm not saying that, but yeah, I definitely do. All right, so Henry saying that when the fan base is confident, it's the loudest in the country, no question. Okay, so the week we beat Bama in 22, yeah, man. That's when we got back on track. Okay, so we can always come back to the offense, but actually, you know what? We have some more things for the offense. So I told y'all that we talk about special teams. First, I want to get to this, right? Field goal kicking. So this is Cooper Ronvier from 2025. These are his stats. So you can see on that left side, it's his kicks from 40 to 49 yards. So he was 6 of 7, about 86% from there. Max Gilbert, from the same distance, he was 4 of 6, 67%. The only one that Coop missed last year was on it was more of like a muffed snap, or it was a bad snap, kind of muffed some. I think it might have been blocked. It was hard to tell from my copy, but if it wasn't for that, he probably would have made it. So he's money, like within 49 yards. That was last year. This year, well, let me keep on with last year. So from 50 plus, he was 2 of 5, which was 40%. Max Gilbert was 2 of 3, 67%. You're seeing that Coop, he had one blocked from there. You know, I think that he could work on his accuracy from over 50, but I think that he's already started doing that. Like, if you go on his Twitter or like whatever, you can see it on social media. He's kicking from 60 plus with ease. He could probably literally make a 70-yard field goal, just in all honesty. It's about being consistent with the accuracy, like beyond 50. So once we get inside the 35-yard line, I think he's going to be money for us this year. And what that's going to do for us is we can play offense a little bit differently. Defense, they can maybe take more risks in some of those sorts of things. So it's totally different from what we had last year, where we learned pretty early on, hey, man, we can't trust this kicker. So I think last year Tennessee missed, it was close to like 40 points or something, because then this was actually from inside of the plus 32, because we weren't able to capitalize. Now, all those weren't field goals. Sometimes we're going for it or it's turnovers, but I do feel like when you know that you have a kicker that can, it's guaranteed 3 points, you can play things a little bit differently, and it will prevent us from getting as many turnovers. Okay, now, y'all, let's talk about Tennessee's defense. All right, my goodness, y'all, this defense is going to be serious, and hopefully y'all can see that just from looking at the sizes, thinking about the names, and so on and so forth. But we're strong on the second and third levels. And I would say that we're going to be good at defensive tackle. So I don't have that necessarily as a strength because I'm not 100% sure. But it's also not a question. I don't think it's going to be a weakness by any means. We need to stay healthy, but we have plenty of guys who I feel like can get it done. But my only real question is still a defensive end. So Chaz Coleman probably won't be part of the team like we talked about. But we have other guys. You know, I feel really good about Jordan Norman, Tyree Weathersby, Marion Dye, Christian Gass. Hopefully he's going to take steps forward, you know. Kedrick Golston, he's a freshman. It's a lot of very young players that will have to step up. Carson Gentle also needs to. But that's pretty much it for me. Because, y'all, whenever you look at those linebackers, so my starting two is both of the ACs, veteran-led. Just like look at the classes here. Big guys, strong guys, fast guys, played a whole lot of ball. And my gracious, I mean, I'm so excited about how this defense is all going to come together, you know, especially having Arion Carter back, you know, but super, super deep there. We could interchange. We got the personnel for, man, we could look totally different from a scheme standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, or whatever, from drive to drive. And it'll be tough for you to find answers. So then secondary, I love our safeties, man. Idris Farouk, y'all heard Coach Knowles say it. We've heard Coach Poindexter said he had an outstanding spring camp. You know, taking so many steps forward versus what we saw last year. I think a lot of that is because of the system, and it's also because of the coaching. So he's a stud. TJ Metcalf, he's a stud. Both of those guys will knock your daggone block off, right? Those are head-hunting warriors, okay? Head-hunting warriors, and then we've got Dylan Lewis. We've got Dijon Lane. I could see either one of them maybe coming in if it's more of like a man-to-man coverage situation, right? Where we need to be able to lock things down from that standpoint. With our safety now, we have 4 real freaking studs. Then you got Sidney Walton. Sidney Walton's a daggone problem. You got DJ Burks. You know, you got Wyatt. It's very, very deep. But then we got cornerbacks. Obviously, Tyler Redmond, already talked about him. He's a stud. Kayan Lee, He's gaining the weight, lockdown, shutdown, man-to-man coverage corner. He could also play inside of the nickel, but Quay Moss, I think he's a problem inside the nickel, and I mean that in a very positive way. But look at all the other corners that I could see potentially starting. Wasn't the same way last year. Tim Merritt, stud. He had a great spring camp. I would say that Trey also, great spring camp. And then for Jadis, we're hearing that he's just getting better. Like, he looks more like his old self. So when you have this much depth and you can rotate and you can do a whole lot of different things, I know I still have Chaz Coleman down there just in case. But whenever you can rotate and you can do all these different things, man, I promise y'all, and I wish that I wish that more people would join us as members on YouTube or on Patreon. We've already started to break down some things with how the scheme's going to work, and we've done it for the general public too on YouTube. But my goodness, y'all, Coach Knowles and all the new coaches, even Coach Inge and Coach Garner, with their mindsets, it's such a perfect match. It fits together beautifully. This defense really should be at least top 15 when it's all said and done. Our defense might win us several games. We're going to have a whole bunch of turnovers and missed tackles. That's going to go down. So that's where I'm at with all of it. Let me see what people are saying. So this right here from Rhonda saying that winning cures all. That's a stone cold fact. There's no doubt about that. Winning cures everything, and that's what's kind of like back to my point about hype. I'm just hoping that whoever it is that's pushing us to, I don't know if David Gabriel Georges is actually the cornerstone. It feels like he is the cornerstone of this class. I don't know if that's more like fan-driven because so many fans want him, but I don't know if that's a smart business move. The fans might be upset if we don't get DGG because he's in-state, but long-term, if Tennessee's winning national championships, if Tennessee's in that hunt, if we're winning, people are going to forget about all that stuff. So let me go on forward, y'all. We've got this too. This is something else. Because with Coach Knowles coming in, I feel like his scheme has already started to help, like just the entire Hypo scheme, and I think that Hypo scheme could also help out Coach Knowles and how he likes to run things. So with Hypo running tempo in practice, I don't think that Coach Knowles has ever really struggled versus tempo, but it's good for your players and for the play calling to be used to, hey, you got to get it in quick, because if you can do it quick, then you can definitely do it when you have time to think about it and things slow down. Obviously, South Carolina will run some tempo, I'm sure, in 2026. We already know that Auburn's going to run a whole lot of tempo. LSU's going to run a whole lot of tempo. All those teams are going to have mobile quarterbacks. They're all also going to run those wide splits. So we'll be well-versed, and I don't think that Coach Knowles struggles versus the wide splits necessarily either. But mobile quarterbacks, that's basically like his kryptonite. So for him to be able to see that in practice situations, you got the offensive staff and then the staff from defense sit down, talk about, okay, well, how are you finding success doing X, Y, Z? And I think that we'll get better. So same thing with Coach Knowles' system. We know that Coach Hypo before was struggling versus that 3-deep safety look, not as much in 2025, but you can always get better at it. I think that the pressure from the defensive tackles and also from the blitzes they come up the middle, Coach Knowles showed a whole lot of that over the spring because he saw that this is a weakness. This is something that y'all need to work on. And probably not just that, but hey, we're winning when we do this, so we'll keep on wearing it out. I think that told us something. We got to get better at guard and at center. I didn't think that I would feel as bad as I did coming out of spring, but I also think that some of that has to do with us just being like having dudes playing at defensive tackle and so on and so forth. And then even front, so Coach Heupel over the season and Coach Halsley, obviously, they're going to mostly see odd fronts, okay? And we know that before has maybe given them trouble. I don't think it's necessarily a big problem for us at this point. But since we will rarely see even fronts, having some answers to it just like quickly because you see it so much in practice settings, that will be very beneficial. If you think about 2022, like I'll just bring up that season when we lost to South Carolina, it's games like that Tennessee shouldn't lose when it's something small like, well, they're running more even fronts and we can't find an answer. See what I'm saying? So I also think that that'll be very helpful, very beneficial to us. And let me get back to the chat, man. Let me get back in here and see what people are talking about. So Henry is saying that if he's not mistaken, that Coach Knowles and Ed solidified himself as the top safety. Yeah, I think that he was coming out of spring, but you still got summer, you still got fall camp. Things change, man. A lot of things change. Go back and look at some of the articles from like last spring, and then look at the articles from fall camp. It's such a drastic difference sometimes. It's like, well, this person came out of nowhere out of fall camp. Well, this guy looked great in spring, but in fall, it's like they just didn't really live up to what we thought. So I hope that, now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Ed, but what I am saying is that you just never know. Keep on pushing, keep on getting better. Like we keep on climbing. One guy takes that step forward, and hopefully you kind of reach down to your teammates. Hey, this is how I got here. Now this is how you can get there, and then they go over them, and you keep on doing it back and forth. That's what the great teams do, and I feel like this team's got that laser focused mindset, and that's why we're going to be in a great spot when it's all said and done. All right, so Rhonda, any guess on how many sacks we could get this season? Oh wow, that's you put me on the spot with that. I don't know. I'm not good with those types of things to be able to, like, for the whole team getting sacks. I would say that I could see guys like Gilliam getting like 5+. I think that David Hobbs will probably get somewhere in that same ballpark. You know, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know that we'll have necessarily more sacks than we've had. Like, what year do we have the most? Might have been 2023, or was it 2024? One of those years. It'll probably be pretty close to that, maybe a little bit under it. But I think that we'll get like sacks more from blitzing. I think that our linebackers are safeties. It's a huge part of what we do. So I think that it'll be a little bit more of that and like less kind of like coverage sacks. But could still be that way because the coverage is going to be outstanding down the field. But y'all, that's pretty much it for me. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. Appreciate everybody for joining us. If y'all like this content, please make sure to like and subscribe. And also, if you're watching this back, share your thoughts down in the comments section. And we'll be back at some point tomorrow. Might actually be back at some point a little bit later on today. If we get some official breaking news, like on Chaz Coleman, I think that we should probably do like a live stream for it. But again, appreciate y'all and have a great rest of y'all's Tuesday. Thanks. Peace.